Hello and welcome back. Okay, as you can see, I'm going to run through another patch very similar to what I did last time. By the way, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Feel free to subscribe if you like the kind of thing that I'm going to put out here. But I'm trying to perform with the chainsaw and the symphonian. If you didn't see my last video, I'll put a link to it up in the top corner. It's very much a chainsaw and a bassline voice here from the Doepfer A1116. And this time I'm using symphonian in a subtly different way. If you've seen my last video and you remember what we did, you might see a subtle setup difference here. If you can't see it, what I'll do is I'll perform it and then I'll go through the breakdown like we did last time. So let's get on with the performance and then we'll go through the breakdown. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. It's quite kind of fun to play. So, what have we got going on here? So I'll just go through the basics again like we did in the last video. I've still got the same first three notes of my chord going out to the chainsaw. But then I've got a fourth note coming round the back here into Bassline, which is just adding this nice kind of high note in the background, kind of like sort of in tune sort of hats, or very high, highly filtered top line there. And then the main thing that I'm doing different here is I'm not using the arpeggio anymore to sequence the bass line. A bass line is actually being sequenced by Metropolix, believe it or not, because the Metropolix, the pitch, it's not going directly in. So we're not getting the direct pitches here from Metropolix, but the pitch is going into the quantizer here on channel A, and then that quantizer is going out. Now what that gives us is every time there is something that's different enough, so if we just got the root enabled here, every time there is a pitch here that's high enough apart, you'll get an octave. So we go octave, octave, down, down, an octave, or we could go to 2 octaves and then back. So if we start that, I'll just demonstrate what I mean there. Now the reason that that's better than the so that gives us basically the arpeggio, but the reason that's better is then we can control our bass line. So we start on the root, but then we can just shift. So we can effectively play bass lines in, so we start off in C minor here, but then we can play the 5th, the 3rd, the 7th. So what I was doing is moving around. So let me just show you that. So here's our bass line. And as you can see, if you watch Metropolix here, you can see us doing octaves. If I push this one up, we'll get a double octave. And then what I was doing is I was moving the bass line. So we're starting off on the C, and then we're going to the 5th, which is a G. Down to a 3rd. Then up to the 7th. 5th. Back to the E. Up to the 7th. And that allows me to play the bass line in tune with the chords. So if we bring in the chainsaw now, which we've only got the root note selected here, so let's just bring the filter up. Let me just lower the spread so it's a bit more clean. So we can now play a bass line and keep the lead the same, or we can play the lead and keep the bass line the same, or we can play both together. So I was going on the lead here. So you can play the same pattern, or I was playing a slightly, my intro that we came up with was slightly different, was going on the 9th. And just generating chords here. And then going back to the 5th. And then just finishing off with the 7th. And then you can play the same in the bass line, so you can leave the chord the same. Or you could put a chord in here maybe we could put an entire C minor chord in and then play the bass line. Or what I was doing at the end was I was playing them all together, so and then the kick as usual sidechained to the bass line. Another cool effect that I was doing was, so I was starting off with the bass line without any resonance. So let's just take this off so we can just hear the bass line. So if we take the resonance off, it gives us a very flat bass. If you're interested in the effects that are going on here, the chainsaw is getting its effects mostly from the Mimeophon. I don't have any effects in the rack here for the bass line, so I've actually just got an echo with a reverb in Ableton in post. That's why you can probably hear that just bouncing around a little. So there's the bass line. Now the effect that I was getting with the bass line is the bass line, if we look at a gate sequencer here, it's coming from channel A on Steppy here, so channel A. So this is our bass line. And we can improvise that bass line by being on shifty mode and then hold down a note. So if we hold down a note that's not playing, it will give us a rest. But if we hold down a note that is playing, it will give us a fill. And then playing that with the filter of the chainsaw. So let's just bring in the lead again. If we sweep that filter and change the root bass line at the same time, assuming you've got enough coordination, you can do that and move the bass line. So let's try that. And then also I was filling at the same time, so just to give it a little bit more playability. So let's try that. Which took some getting used to how to play that, but I'm really like playing, rather than programming the Symphonian, I like playing it. It's so much fun. And then let's put the resonance back up. And the other thing that we can do is, obviously we can change the gates here. So I've got a rest here on step 5. So if we increase the rest length, just changes the pattern up a little bit. So that's all I was doing, just a quick one today, just a slight variation on the last patch that we did. I wanted to show how, rather than using the arpeggio for the bass line, got far more playability here by mixing a pitch sequencer from Metropolix, but through, because this is quantized anyway, you don't really need to quantize, you could actually set this exactly. But using this for transpose on this quantized channel, together with playing the chords, it just makes everything way more playable than just having the arpeggio. So that's something I've learned today. It's a pretty complicated module this, but every time I touch it, I learn something new. So really enjoying it. Right, so I've done a couple of these now. Next time I will go through something as a complete patch from scratch. I'll take all the wires out. A few of you have asked how I use PAMS New Workout for clock and reset. So as you can see here, there's quite a lot of clocking going on. But I'll show how I patch this entire setup here with clock and reset. and how you can use PAMS for reset, and we'll go through a complete patch from scratch, create something fairly similar to what we've just done, but we'll just do it complete from scratch. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.